Welcome to New Life Live, the premier place to receive free advice from Christian psychologists and counselors for the mental, emotional, relational, and spiritual challenges you face. Since 1988, we've offered compassionate responses that combine God's truth with proven psychological principles to guide you toward healing. Our phone lines are open. Call us now at 1-800-229-3000.
Thank you for listening to New Life Live and for watching as well. I'm your host, Brian Perez, and today we're going to be taking calls for 2 hours. 1-800-229-3000 is the number to call. And here to answer your questions today, we've got Dr. Jim Burns, who's the founder of Homeward. How are you, Jim?
Very good, and great to be here. I was on a little vacation, so I'm glad to be back. And I get Mark. You get to introduce Mark.
Yes, Marc Cameron, licensed marriage and family therapist, is here too. How are you, Mark?
I'm doing well, and love being on with Jim too.
Yeah, we're going to get to the calls in just a little bit, beginning with Tony. Whatever it is that you're going through, let's talk about it, whether it's a marital issue or parenting or you're struggling with something or feeling stuck. Let's talk about it. 1-800-229-3000. Marc Cameron, what's on your mind today?
Yeah, so I want to talk about taking advice. So several years ago, my family and I, we went to visit a friend over Christmas, and he lives in Bakersfield, and so we spent a few days with him. It's about less than a 3-hour drive from our house. But while we were there, the weather shifted, and so the road home actually goes over a mountain range, and they closed that down because it was all snowed in. And my friend told me, okay, take the road to the coast and drive all the way around. And so I looked that up, and it looked like it was about an 8-hour drive. And it's a popular navigation app that I used, and it said, well, there's another way through the mountains, and it's about a 5-hour drive. So I went against my friend's advice, and I went the opposite way. And it was a beautiful trip, nice weather. And then as we started to ascend the mountain, we started to get the snow, and then we hit some traffic, and as we waited in the traffic, we suddenly saw this sign, and the highway patrol was only letting people through if they had if they had chains for their tires.
Yes.
And we did not. So we had to turn around, and 5 hours later, I was back at the place that I had started.
Great.
Had to go the other way to the coast. By this time, it was like an 11-hour drive because everyone was going that way. And 16 hours later, I ended up at home, which should normally be about less than a 3-hour drive.
Yes.
So why don't we take good advice? Now, I've met many people in therapy who've told me things like, oh, yeah, someone told me that I wasn't ready to get married, or my spouse wasn't ready to get married, or I shouldn't go and take this job and move across the country. I shouldn't make this decision, but I went ahead and I did it anyway. So we resist taking advice because we think we know ourselves best. But the problem is we also fool ourselves best. Because we look for confirmation bias. We look for information that confirms the things that we want to hear, and then we disregard the things that we don't want to hear. So what should we do? So when somebody gives us advice, we need to stop and pause and assess the reliability of the source. We need to say, is this person experienced? Are they knowledgeable? Are they unbiased? Are they trying to help, or are they self-motivated? Is there something to gain? How well do they understand me and my situation? And then we also need to ask ourselves, why are we resistant to the advice? How do we arrive at our problem in the first place? And if we keep doing what we're doing now, where are we going to end up? So you can either have the pain now, which is usually a lot less, or you can have the pain in the future, which is usually a lot more, like I had on my trip home. Proverbs 12:15 says, the way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but he who heeds counsel is wise.
Mm-hmm. So good.
Any thoughts from you, Jim?
No, I was just thinking, when we do things on getting ready for marriage, we say, what does the community around you say? And if moms and dad are saying no, and their best friends are saying no, and they go ahead and do it, typically they look up 6 months, 2 years from then, say, I should have listened to my mom. Isn't that interesting? Same kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we're here to talk to you, to give you the advice that you need to go forward in life. What is it that you're going through? Let's talk about it. 1-800-229-3000 is our number. If you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube, you can call in as well. We're taking calls for 2 hours today at 1-800-229-3000 with Dr. Jim Burns and Marc Cameron. And we would love to talk to you. Tony, you're coming right up here on New Life Live.
We've been married 33 years. We attended the Intimacy and Marriage Workshop. Even though we've read books or attended a few other marriage weekends, this was certainly different and a lot more intensive than initially that we thought.
When you come to intimacy in marriage, you're going to be immersed into a 3-day process.
Was not really sure exactly what to expect, but the idea of learning to really understand intimacy was intriguing. We had been in the same patterns of struggle over and over again.
If you've thought, I don't think we can ever change, we're just in this rut and we can't get out, the Intimacy in Marriage workshop can help you get out of the rut.
The Intimacy in Marriage weekend is July 25th to the 27th in Washington, D.C. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50. 1-800-639-5433.
I would highly recommend it.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
A quick thank you for everyone who listens to New Life Live faithfully. You are there. It's appointment listening for you. Thank you so much, whether it's online or on the radio. But we do have a podcast too. So download the New Life app and you can take us with you wherever you go. And we're going to go right to the phones right now, starting with Tony in Sacramento, listening on the New Life app. Welcome, Tony. How can we help you today?
Hi. I've been married for 30 years, and my husband haven't made any changes yet. And I want to know, should I just walk away?
What kind of changes are we talking about?
He used to be on drugs. And the 30 years we've been married, he's been on them most of the time. And he wasn't a really bad person, and he'll help me, then he don't help me. You know. And now that he's disabled, he thinks that he can't help at all. And I told him, you can do something to help out.
Are you talking like financial help or what?
Financial and physical.
Like helping around the house or whatever?
Yeah, just helping around the house. Even if you just pick up and wash a few dishes, sit down for a little while, then get back up. Because I've always have worked. You know, and I'm disabled, but I still go to work. And I still keep up the house.
Yeah.
You know, and I think, and I'm really angry with him. I'm really angry with him, and I think it's from the past. He was always in and out, in and out. Now that he's back and disabled, it's like I don't want to. Excuse me. It's like I don't want to deal with it no more. And we've both been homeless together, and I brought us back, and it's like, you done seen how hard I worked. You can't help me out.
Yeah.
I know he had a past. He's been hurt in his life.
Yeah. Dr. Jim, what would you say to Tony?
Yeah. You know, Tony, for one thing, I'm sorry you're going through this. But at the same time, I think it's really important that you get the help you need to have the right kind of conversations. For example, if I was going to Mark is a marriage counselor, and if I was going to Mark with my things, he gets this every day, these kinds of things, and he sees patterns, and he asks the right questions and things like that. And I don't think you can do this alone. I don't know if you are, but you know, by calling is your first step to kind of get the help. But in the Sacramento area where you live, there's a lot of good resources for you, because you want to get a plan together and how to communicate. You know, we oftentimes say that, you know, communication is a learned trait, and you and your husband probably for the last 30 years haven't done as good in the communication side, partly because, you know, of the drugs and things like that. So I think you need a plan, and a plan that can actually move forward and really look in your own, you know, a counselor can help you look at your own motives and your own self, and are you a codependent? You know, what are those kinds of issues? Let me ask you, is he still doing drugs?
No. Occasionally he'll go out and get some, and that's another thing that really makes me angry. You know, we too old. Both, he's 64 and I'm 57, And I think we done learned a lot of things, and why is we going through the same thing? We're not financially stable,
Right.
but I do the best I can. Like I said,
Right.
I'm mentally and physically disabled. Always have as a child.
Understood.
You know?
Understand. You know, he's not going to do much changing if he's still doing some drugs, when he's putting drugs in his body. And I'm guessing that in a good way, you're going to help him create a crisis. I'm anxious to hear what Marc has to say, because this is his, you know, he's the marriage guy, and you happen to call on the right day. So, Marc.
Yeah, this is a very frustrating dynamic here, Tony. Jim is right. You need to have a plan to move forward. And if he's still in addiction, any plan that you set needs to include some type of addiction recovery, or holding him accountable to get recovery. Otherwise, you're just going to end up spinning your wheels here. Now, you've got some good insight here, because you have done a lot of work, and I'm hearing from you talking about how you also didn't make good decisions, and you guys were homeless, but you've done a lot of work to pull yourself out, but you've been pulling him with you. But that's also left some anger from the past there too. What are some things that you do for him now that he could do for himself?
I don't do anything for him.
Okay.
I mean, I've never been that type of woman that hovered over him. I just believe in stand with your marriage, and I do the very bare minimum. Now I don't do anything for him, because he likes for you to cater to him.
Okay, so what do you want him to be doing when you say help out?
Get up and try.
With housework, or with going to having a job?
No, he won't be able to have no job, but like I told him, sell candy to the kids outside. Do anything to help us out, instead of me struggling and trying to work. I work so hard, and then you think you can come in here and tell me what to do and curse and get mad, and now you want some attention. You're not going to get that attention from me.
Yeah, so
I'm doing enough.
Yeah, so
as it is.
Yeah, so this is a frustrating cycle. There's codependence. There's some enabling going on, even though you're unhappy about it and you complain about it. There's still some benefit for him, and that's why he's not making any growth changes. And so you do need a therapist to help walk you through this. And once you get a plan, then you can communicate to him what your boundaries are, what you're willing to accept and what you're not willing to accept. And oftentimes with an addict, you do have to let them get to a point of either rock bottom or high discomfort before they're going to be willing to change. Because right now the situation works for him, so he wants to, he's not motivated to make any changes. And, even if you're going to complain and criticize, the benefit outweighs the cost for him to be able to put up and listen to that. So let us try and get you in touch with a marriage therapist. Have you tried marriage therapy before?
No, I can't afford one right now.
Okay. Well, maybe you can at least try Al-Anon.
Al-Anon?
Mm-hmm. Do you know what Al-Anon is?
No.
Al-Anon is, it's kind of like AA, but it's for the spouse to be able to go to be able to talk about the struggles, and you'll meet in a group with other people who are experiencing similar struggles to you. And in that group, you guys can help strengthen each other and get some good advice. And that's typically free to go to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Hey, I was going to add, Tony, one other thing. You know how like a road map. So we use maps all the time, and what I'm thinking is you're a little bit lost in terms of how to do this relationship, and you want a road map, and there are people who can help you that wouldn't even cost. Let me do a little work here. So there's a place in Sacramento that actually does free counseling. How do I get that to her? Can our people call her back?
Yes.
Okay. So I was just with somebody this weekend who happens to be in Sacramento, and they have an amazing ministry, and they use some lay people. So but they've been trained really, really well. It's one of the larger churches in America, and I want to have our people connect you with them. And they might be able to give you the start of that roadmap, and it wouldn't cost you. they'll do that for free as a part of their ministry. And it's a really beautiful marriage ministry that I've been a part of for a long time. So I trust them. I like them. They happen to be in your area. I don't know that they're right where you live, but Sacramento is a pretty big place. But we'll work that out. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, good. Okay.
So Tony, stay on the phone because we also want to send you a copy of maybe Boundaries. Is that what you think we should get to her?
I'm reading it right now.
You are? Okay.
For the second time.
Tony, stay on the line. We'll get your address and your phone number. Thank you for calling in today on New Life Live. 1-800-229-3000 is our number. And now we're going to go to Kevin, who's also in California, the Mojave Desert, to be more specific, listening on Sirius XM, channel 131. Welcome to New Life Live, Kevin.
Well, thank you. I was just driving for a prison ministry and kind of praying about the day and some of the things that are going on, and Lord says...
And what? Hold on. We just say it again. We lost
you momentarily.
Okay, no problem. I'm just pulling over here. And I think God said, seek wise counsel. So I was listening to you guys. I figured I'd dial in. The situation is recently, I'd say over the last couple of months, God has hooked me up with guys who are struggling with fentanyl addictions. I know I can have a tendency to be the rescuer, and I was just wondering, what are some good boundaries to set with them to make sure I don't kind of like get into the middle? I heard what you were talking about with the previous caller, but I'm just seeking some wise counsel in particular with kind of like that hard fentanyl addiction. It just seems like when they're hooked, they're severely hooked.
What do you guys think?
Well, I think they're in the right place. They're in prison. And, I was when I was getting my master's degree, I was a chaplain in a prison, a counselor in a prison. And I would see people who are pretty hardcore drug addicts get off of drugs because most prisons, and you can check this out when you get there again, but most prisons have a program that would help them, an NA type program. I mean, I can't even imagine there wouldn't be. So I think the first step is finding out what kind of resources, as a helper, and serving them, what kind of resources does that prison offer? And I think you might, really be happy with what they offer. Who knows? I don't know this particular prison or whatever. But the other thing I would say is, we use a word enabling. Are we helping or are we enabling? And what you don't want to do as a person, Kevin, who loves people, and gosh, you're serving and you're doing all this, you don't want to enable dependency with these guys. But, if they are willing to do some of the work and they're in prison, so it's harder to get fentanyl. I'm sure you can get some sometimes. They did at the prison I was at years ago, not fentanyl, but other drugs. So what I'm saying is you don't want to enable dependence. That's the thing. The question I always have to ask with people is, am I enabling dependency on me? That's not healthy. But if I'm helping them to make good and right and wise decisions by offering them some resources and some love and care and all the things that you're doing as a volunteer up there, you're doing a great job. But you don't want to enable dependency. That's the question you got to ask yourself. Because they're on fentanyl, that's a tough drug. Mm-hmm. And the truth is that there's a lot of people in that prison who have been on fentanyl. And I'm guessing that you're going to hit a gold mine just by asking some of the other people what goes on here, how can they get the help? Because I don't know many prisons that don't have help for people who have been addicted to narcotics.
Kevin, is it just the people at the prison that you're saying you're rescuing, or is it people that you meet on the street?
Actually, this is a couple guys that have showed up at our church's Bible study.
I missed it then.
Kind of confided their study. But no problem. I mean, I'm heading up there, too. That's a really good point. And I have not asked the question, so I will ask the person in case I...
Yeah, I get it. And so I went off on the prison side. You know what? It's the same answer for these people. Mm-hmm. Find who's helping in your area. How great that they're at church. That means they're taking that first step. Sometimes with fentanyl addiction, they can go... They need more than just a meeting every once in a while. They need, some intense care. So your job, and I say this to every volunteer and every pastor that I work with, I say, find the resources in your community and then, bring these people to that resource. And you may have to get them in a car and bring them. But in a moment when they have that need, that's when you take them. Just sent a guy to a Salvation Army in Fresno. California, and he stayed, but he didn't want to go. But he stayed, and he's going through the process. Yay! I don't know what will happen at the end, but that's what you want with these guys that you're working with. How great that they're coming to you.
Yeah, Mark, any thoughts?
Yeah, I have some thoughts for you, Kevin. If you came to see me in my office, before I answered your question about boundaries, I'd want to find out more about why you are a rescuer. And so we're coming up to a break here, but I want you to think about that. I'm going to ask you that about that when we get back. What in your past history has motivated you or caused you, do you think, to be a rescuer of other people?
That's a great question. So, Kevin, start formulating your answer. We'll be with you in just a couple of minutes here on New Life Live, and we're going to take your calls too. Gene, you are going to be on after Kevin, and everyone else, 1-800-229-3000 is the number to call to talk to Mark and Jim.
Early on, looking at pornography that went into affairs, massage parlors, strip clubs with buddies. Before you know it, you're ashamed of that.
Every day, men struggle with sexual integrity. Impure thoughts, strip clubs, affairs, pornography.
My wife got a phone call, and she asked me who this person was, and man, how do I get myself out of this one?
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle Intensive.
When she said to me, I want you to look at this website named Every Man's Battle, she had me look, and I said, no, this is exactly where I need to be. This is exactly the problems I have, and I'm gonna go.
You don't have to struggle any longer. Get help in Denver, Colorado, June 6th through the 8th. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to register or to find out more. 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com. Use the discount code NLL to save $50. For over 35 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addiction, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
I found a counselor through New Life Ministries, and it's just been outstanding.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first steps toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door for a better tomorrow.
To get someone that's competent, that's good at what they do, it's been like day and night compared to what I've had before.
Call 1-800-639-5433.
We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
I am so glad that we're taking calls for 2 hours today because we've got lots of great calls on the board already, but we're still waiting for yours at 1-800-229-3000. Kevin, you had a couple of minutes to think about Mark's question. Why are you a rescuer?
Yeah, well, that's I'm basically the second generation stepping out of I think the generational sin of alcoholism. Since I've become a Christian, it was about 35 years ago, I think God's had me in the pursuit of, how should I really be running my life? And one of those areas was he had kind of pointed out that I have a tendency to rescue people because it was a pretty turbulent time in my family at times, not really physically abusive, probably mostly just verbal and distancing and the odd ways of or lack of communication, with the elephant in the living room kind of thing. But so I think I was always trying to be the peacemaker amidst the conflict, and that's something I've had an opportunity with me and my wife to be facilitating, 12-step program, Celebrate Recovery. And so God kind of clued me in, that I need to be careful about that. So that's why I was kind of calling. I figured, well, there's victory in wise counsel. Mm-hmm. So yeah. I'll take whatever input you guys have got.
Yeah, so in childhood, you were trained to help. You were trained to serve. And I find that with people who are rescuers, usually they have to take care of a family member or they have to take care of a parent, and they get trained that way. And what happens when when a child goes through a circumstance like that is they feel a lot of anxiety inside when they see their parent stressed or the family member stressed, and so they learn to fall into this role of rescuing and helping to calm the situation down. But really, it's also mainly to calm their own anxiety down. And so now you've gone into adulthood. And you know, we need people who help others, and so you're a great blessing. But I would imagine there's probably a lot of anxiety inside of you still when you see people struggling, and you rescue and you help because it's a way to reduce your anxiety. Is that true?
Yeah, I could see that. I try to be cognizant when those kind of situations come up. And I've had a tendency to overextend. And just have to be careful to set boundaries on myself.
Yeah, we're losing you a bit here. So here's what my advice to you would be, Kevin. And I love that you're a helper and you want to help other people, but we don't want to do that to your detriment or to other people's detriment. So I encourage you to get into counseling and have a therapist help walk you through your childhood story. Have that person help you understand, the anxiety that you feel around seeing other people in distress. Because as you learn to deal with that and as you learn to become more confident, that's where you'll build your boundaries. Because part of helping other people who are going through hard things like this is knowing when to allow them to experience the consequence of their actions. Because when you don't do that, you often rob them of that growth opportunity. But you need to be able to work on that piece on the inside of yourself. So I love what you're doing, but I think that would greatly benefit you if you could make sense of your childhood story that way.
Yeah. Okay. I can empathize with that. Yeah. I tell you what, guys, I have to head up into the mountains because I'm heading into this prison ministry. So I just appreciate what you've given me so far. I didn't know if there's any other thoughts before I have to go.
Have you read the book Boundaries?
Oh, boy, long time ago. It's a good book.
Okay.
Do you own it?
I don't think I still have it. That was part of our curriculum when I was doing prison fellowship ministry. But I would appreciate it. Maybe send that to me.
We'll do that.
And check out another book called How We Love. Okay. That will help you understand a little bit about your childhood history.
Yeah, that's a good one, too. You can find that one on the newlife.com store. But Boundaries is the one we're going to send you. Thank you for calling in today, Kevin. Jean, Sally, and Butterfly are all coming up here on New Life Live at 1-800-229-3000. First, I want to remind you that we're in the middle of a $500,000 matching gift, and we have passed the halfway point. So if you've ever wanted to give to New Life Live, now is a great time to do it because we're in the middle of this matching gift that I just said to you. Our goal is to get the $500,000 by the end of May. You can help us by calling right now, 1-800-NEW-LIFE, or go to newlife.com or text the word match to 28950. Thank you to everybody who's already given. And please, if you haven't yet, we ask that you do it today. That'd be great. 1-800-NEW-LIFE, newlife.com, or text the word match to 28950. Jean in Los Angeles, we're coming up to a break, but let's at least hear your question. What is it that's going on? By the way, thank you so much for calling us today on New Life Live.
Hi, and thank you so much for taking my call. You guys are awesome. I love the great counsel that you give to everyone. I'm just concerned about my grandson. He has said to me, and he has said to his mother of several times actually, when he gets angry, or at this in particular time recently, he was telling his mother that he was worried about first grade and being able to do the work. And he's doing real well in kindergarten, but he says he always says maybe I should die. And he has said that, like I said, several times. And I just wondered if you guys had any thoughts or suggestions.
Did you say
what we can?
He's in kindergarten, and he's expressed these feelings.
Wow.
Wow.
He's only 5 years old, and he's saying that, and he's saying, I know his dad has suffered from depression and is on medication for it.
Okay, Jean.
But I don't know if. But anyway, I know you need to go to a break, so thank you.
Yes. Stay on the phone, though. Don't hang up. We'll be back with you here on New Life Live.
course gave me strength. It gave me more belief in my faith. I met up with a group of women that are going through things that they had no control over.
If you've been affected by betrayal, an emotional or physical affair, or pornography, the Restore Intensive will equip you with support and tools to help you through.
When two people want to do their part, we can be restored. But if they don't, we can still be restored. We are not stuck because someone else made a decision. That God lets us weigh in on how we want to walk out our lives. Our wellness does not hinge on another person's decision.
The Restore Intensive is coming to Dallas, Texas, May 2nd through the 4th. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50.
I've had a great experience at Restore.
1-800-NEW-LIFE and the discount code NLL.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433.
We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Thanks so much for having us on today. We're taking calls for 2 hours, so call in. 1-800-229-3000 is our number. And let's go back to Jean in Los Angeles, who's listening to us, or who listens to us on a Spotify podcast. Thank you, Jean, for holding through the break.
And thank you. And like I said, my grandson has said that more than once, and to me and to his mother, and just he's already worried about first grade. And I said even to his mom, he doesn't know if he can do well in a job when he grows up. I mean, I don't know where these kind of thoughts are coming from. His mother's very attentive. I mean, she works hard and she takes good care of those kids, and we're involved in their lives. So I don't know. I just concerned me that he is saying that at such a young age. You know,
Yeah, and you said that his father struggles with depression.
His father has, and they are divorced. His dad takes him and his sister a couple of times every other week. You know, that's and his mom and they're both trying to work together. They seem to be getting along well and even doing things together with the kids. But I just wondered, you know, what you guys thought of that. I've never heard of a 5-year-old saying anything like that.
Yeah, it's quite advanced, actually, for a 5-year-old to be expressing worry, like if he's using the word "I'm worried" like that, and then even saying something like "maybe I should die." I wonder if he's heard that from somewhere, either at his dad's house or on TV or something like that. But there's many studies that show that fear is learned. So he's somewhere around, he's learning to be fearful about the world, whether that is being modeled for him or if he's being overprotected. But he's worrying here, this poor little guy, and he's worried about first grade. Now, I don't know if he's really meaning that maybe I should die, or if that's just a phrase that he's repeating, but it's definitely worth asking him more about what that means to him, and maybe more about what he's so fearful about in first grade. I mean, you said that your daughter is a very attentive mother. Can she be overprotective at times?
You know, I don't see that. I mean, he's very... she's pushing them both to be very independent.
Good.
You know, and they're actually helping with dinner and things like that, and I don't see that really.
Okay. Is she pushing him too
doesn't-
hard?
I mean, I know he is very competitive with his sister, and his sister's always done very well at everything. And he's not done quite as well as her, but he's a boy. He's maturing slower, and so I don't know if that competitiveness makes him feel, less, important. I don't know.
Well, the only way you'd know is to ask him, and I know he's 5 years old. But the way that we learn language is by language being given to us and being modeled for us. So I would start by sitting down and having a conversation with him, whether it's you or whether it's his mother. It might be better if it's his mother, and just say, "Wow, you're worried about first grade. What are you worried about? What's the thing that feels most scary for you?" And allow him to talk, and as he's talking, give him language if he's struggling to explain something. And then what I would do is I would just validate and empathize with that. Say, yeah, it is scary to be without mom for the whole day. It is scary to meet new friends or meet new teachers. And I wouldn't try and just fix the problem. I'd try and hear him out first. And then I would ask a question like, what could I do to help you feel a little bit less worried? Could I come and stay for part of the day with you? Do you feel better having got that out? Do you need a hug? And then after you do all of that, then you might try and think about problem solving with him.
Yeah.
But he's got a lot of fear inside here, and he probably definitely needs help learning how to explore and process that.
Dr. Jim?
What Mark is saying is so right, that somehow that phrase, you don't learn that as a 5-year-old from just making it up. He's heard it from a show. Maybe he's heard it from his dad. Maybe he's heard it from other kids at school, something like that. Because that's not the deal that a 5-year-old's going to deal with. Developmentally, he's saying things that are either above his time or things that he doesn't really know what he's saying. So I think a couple of thoughts. One is realize that he's experimenting with words, and that phrase worked once because maybe it got mom's attention, got your attention. So it kind of worked for him, right? So he may need to understand a little bit more what he's saying, because he may not totally understand what he's saying at 5. One of the practical things that you might want to do, is the kindergarten at the same school as the first grade?
Yes, he's in a Christian school.
Okay, yeah, great. Great. So what I might want to do is, because he has this fear, maybe you or his mom take him to one of the first grade teachers. It doesn't have to, I don't know, in a Christian school, it could have one class or it could have 3 or 4, and literally meet the teacher outside, meet at the playground, get to feel the warmth, feel the love, see that they play, some of the same, fun games that he likes to play in kindergarten, things like that. I don't think that's going to take away every bit of the fear, but he doesn't know what first grade's like. So he's going to see that and he's going to go, oh my goodness, this lady is wonderful, or this man is wonderful, whoever they have as the teacher. They play the same games out on the playground as we do, things like that. Sometimes we see that in church, that when kids don't want to move to the next grade, they're fearful. So when mom and or grandma or dad or whoever take them in, let them see it, let them go, oh my goodness, they have cars and trucks in the first grade. They might, it has nothing to do with, kind of what their content is. And they go, I do want to try that. Or Mark said, maybe even when school starts, somebody goes with them for just a tad, but they'll be very good at that. And again, you're at a small Christian private school, so that's going to even be more effective with them personally tailoring, that first part of his educational experience. And, it probably won't be the problem that you're dealing with next year. Now, I want to say one other thing about when kids say, and he's young with this, but when kids say, I maybe I should kill myself, I wouldn't die, I think we take that seriously. And I don't think we overdo it, but I'll tell you a story about my daughter who was at a Christian school. She was in 7th grade, but some boy, I think, didn't like her now. And so she said, I could just die. So I actually took her into a counselor and had him do an assessment so that, and he came back and he said, okay, I've done the assessment and I think she's healthier than you and I are. Okay, it was kind of fun, but it relieved me, because I tell parents, when kids say this kind of stuff, and again, I'm thinking of a little bit older, but when kids say this stuff, somebody can assess that and help you see if it's a phrase or if it's something that they truly do mean. And then you go, you have very few kids his age who actually do, commit suicide. Now you do teenagers, it's going up and up and up. So, you want to be careful with it, but I'm guessing that he's heard the word, it works for him, and to die doesn't mean to kill himself like we would think of as adults.
Right.
That it truly means that it's his way of expressing something. We have a 4.5-year-old grandson, and he hit his little brother. And, what I was trying to help my daughter understand was that, it wasn't like he doesn't hate his brother. He just doesn't know how to deal with his frustration. So you have to teach them that that's not a proper way to deal with the frustration. And I think with this 5-year-old boy, this can be a good learning lesson for you all. But if you do hear where it came from, that'll be really helpful. And sometimes I'll tell you, grandmas have the intuition, and grandmas are safer sometimes than even, mom. So over an ice cream, you having that conversation, honey, why do you say that you would kill yourself? You might get something that mom's not getting.
Yeah, so do the first level of assessment yourself.
Yeah.
Ask him, what do you mean by that? Or what does that mean to you? Don't just say, don't say that. We love you. We want anything to happen to you. Because it's normal for kids to have some level of anxiety. There's normative stresses. Right. Being left alone at school for the whole day. Yeah. Most kids struggle with that. Right. And so it's learning to help them see, as Jim was saying, some practical approaches to let them see that it doesn't have to be so scary, but also allowing them to manage some level of stress while you offer support.
Okay. All right. And in order to have her listen to this, I just look for the date of this program. Is that all right?
Yes, that is the best way to do it.
It's on YouTube too,
it's
on the
YouTube
podcast app.
Yes, and it's going to be on KKLA, of course. So, Gene, thank you for calling in today. I think we'll send you a copy of How We Love Our Kids.
Yeah.
Would that be a good one? Okay. And this is a good conversation because we're coming up on that time of year when kids are graduating either from kindergarten to middle school to junior high school to college. Maybe you're graduating college and you're like, what do I do now? Well, let these two guys help you today. Call us at 1-800-229-3000. We're taking calls for 2 hours. We would love to hear from you today. Thank you so much for watching us on YouTube and Facebook and for listening on the radio.
Do you need help for life's hard situations?
My husband recently said he wanted a divorce.
I'm confused on what I should do.
I have an eating disorder.
New Life Live answers your questions on relationships, grief, addiction, trauma, anxiety, and much more, all from a biblical perspective with our panel of professional counselors and psychologists.
I learn a lot from your program.
You help so many people.
I appreciate your ministry.
Whether you listen or watch, there are so many ways to connect with us to ask our panel of counselors a question. Call us Monday through Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific at 1-800-229-3000 to ask your question on New Life Live. Or go to newlife.com/radio for other ways to get your question answered.
I'm trying to find help.
I just want to know how to set boundaries.
If it's a sin, what am I supposed to do?
Need a therapist or a coach, a resource or an intensive? Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Club New Life changes lives.
You guys came along into my life in 2022. That was a really, really difficult year of my life.
You can help New Life Ministries provide Christ-centered hope and counseling resources to thousands of people by joining Club New Life today.
I began to really process a lot of things that I've needed to for a long time, and y'all were a very big part of that.
When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, you'll make a difference in the lives of individuals and families with godly counsel and connection to help.
I came out of it having never experienced anything like that, and y'all were there.
Join today and help continue the message of hope to a troubled world.
I knew I had to keep going, and I joined Club New Life, and y'all have been the resource that has now been a light for my wife and I.
Go to newlife.com/CNL, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places.
Keep doing what you do because it makes a difference.
newlife.com/CNL.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Today is Monday. You know what that means. A new episode of the Every Man's Battle podcast dropped today. You can get it wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch it on the New Life YouTube channel. And it's a great program. It's honest conversation and encouragement for living a life with sexual integrity. Today's program is about forgiveness, specifically about wives forgiving their husbands when they've done something wrong, and the husband wanting her to like get over it faster than she should. So, she keeps bringing it up or whatever. And he's like, why haven't you gotten over that yet? Well, there's a reason. And that's why you need to watch this podcast. It's available wherever you get your podcasts. 1-800-229-3000 is the number to call us today on New Life Live. And we're taking calls for 2 hours. And here is Sally, who's listening in Los Angeles on newlife.com. Hi there, Sally. Thank you for calling in today.
Hello.
How can we help you?
I have a young family member who has expressed that there's not a problem with doing illegal drugs with friends when they're, just out having fun and all that kind of stuff. And I have had another family member in my family that was lost to that. And so it is very hard for me not to just go overboard. I'm trying to deal with my anxiety about this without making things worse by just going overboard, and totally freaking out, because the fear that I have of that young person throwing their life away, as I have seen it happen to another young person in my life, and I don't want to push away, but it is such a slippery slope.
Can we ask how old this youngster is?
Very dark place.
Can we ask the age of this youngster?
Between 20 and 23.
Okay.
And is it a child or a grandchild?
A child.
Child. Okay. And are you able to tell us what kind of drug it is?
I'm not exactly sure what kind of drug it is, but I know it's an illegal drug, and I know that, all of those are, from methamphetamines to the cocaine and the fentanyl, like you were talking about earlier. Those are so tragic to young folks that walk into it in this blindness, of what can go bad, all the bad things that can happen,
Yeah. What's your relationship like with this child, and do you have any idea why they might be using this drug?
Well, I think I have a good relationship, and I think that, more or less it's just wrong friends and thinking there's no problem with it,
Have they been doing this for a long time?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Something fairly new.
I haven't,
Yeah, well, I think you've got a right to be concerned here, Sally. I mean, that makes sense. I wouldn't necessarily blame it completely on friends, because, we do build and develop our own character. And as we do that, we learn how to say no, and we learn how to separate ourselves from people and environments that are not good for us. But during this age, I'm not going to say it's normal for this to happen, but experimentation is normal during this age. And so I think it's okay for you to express concern. And I asked you about your relationship with this child. What I wouldn't do, though, is become a one-topic parent, where every time you see them, this is what you talk about with them. Because like you're acknowledging here, it's you have anxiety, and maybe it's for good reason, because you've seen what's happened to a prior family member before. But there's probably something driving this. I think, experimentation is one thing, but typically people who experiment with drugs and things like that, there's usually a numbing or a distracting they may be doing too. So do you know if there's any type of anxiety or depression going on in that person's life?
Could be. There was, there was some things being dealt with that were very hard. Mm-hmm. And, I thought that things were working out all right, and working through the hurt and the.
So maybe that's where you start with this adult son or daughter, young adult son or daughter, where you start to ask about the things that they struggle with in their life, and you start to be a soother and a comforter of that pain. Because if they are using it beyond experimentation to numb or distract, if they can find that comfort in relationship, then the drug no longer becomes necessary for them.
Jim?
Sally, does he live with you or she?
No.
No, okay.
No.
But it's your child, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Well, for one thing, what Mark is saying is so right. We can't be a one-topic parent, but at the same time, I think it's very important that and I think you've probably done this, but I think we have to let them know what we believe and how we feel. That's important, and that when not if, because it's going to be when they find themselves in trouble, that you are willing to be that safe person to help them get the help that they need. Now, again, I think that's really important that we do that. So you want to become an expert in this. As our daughter had a heart issue. We became experts in the heart thing. Well, when you have a kid who is struggling with drugs, and it's probably drug addiction, and it might be because they're medicating their pain and all these other things. But at this point, you're not the person to probably figure that out as much. It's going to be, resources. So get the resources. Go to Al-Anon. Learn the wording. Read the books on dealing with an adult child who's struggling with some of these kinds of things. And and there's stuff like that out there now. And so what it's going to do is give you, and I mentioned this in the previous caller, they'll have the roadmap. You'll have the roadmap. So you need your circle of support. That's going to be probably Al-Anon or somebody who can walk you through this issue, and somebody also who can help you deal with your fears, because it would be very fearful. If this was my child, I would have deep fears because I come from a family where there's alcoholism. I've seen things go south, and I've seen things stay south. So at the same time, when he said don't be a one-topic parent, you've got to also be safe. So you say what you believe, how you feel, how you can help, but then also, keep the relationship open. But I wouldn't enable them. So that means that sometimes you're going to have to do tough love, and tough love says that you're going to have to allow the consequences of his poor choices to come to happen, and that'll actually help him heal, believe it or not.
We have a book in the newlife.com store called Understanding and Loving Your Child Who Smokes Pot. That would be for a child. Do you think this would be a good resource for an early 20-year-old?
Yeah, and Jim's book, Doing Life with Your Adult Children.
Yep, for sure. You can get that at the newlife.com store as well. And we're coming up to a break, but we're going to stick around in the studio, take calls for another hour at 1-800-229-3000. Don't forget, we've got lots of intensives coming up, including the Restore Healing After Betrayal Intensive in Dallas. It's this weekend. More details at newlife.com.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.